Hello, everyone. Welcome to session 4 of our small group series, Built on the Rock. Last time, we talked about those things that we fear, love, and trust more than God. Now, if we're honest with ourselves, we can admit with a broad brush that those idols exist in our lives. However, if pressed for specifics, our idols demand another sacrifice: concealment. We wouldn't want people to actually know who we are. So we put on a good face, all while our spiritual heart disease rages inside. We'll even regrettably admit a few mundane sins, so long as it distracts people from the greater ones. The worse the sin, the more our spiritual idol requires us to sacrifice for its concealment. Here's an example. Do you remember the story of King David and Bathsheba? David lusted after Bathsheba and took advantage of her by using his power to compel her to have sex with him, resulting in an unplanned pregnancy. All of this happened while her husband was away fighting a war. David's internal idols had already required much sacrifice, but there was more: concealment. Eventually, David's sacrifice to his idols resulted in the murder of Uriah, Bathsheba's husband. Little did David realize, the idols in his life were destroying him. It's one thing to know your idols exist. It's quite another thing to see the power that they have over your life. So it was with David. He was blinded to the collateral damage that came from the sacrifices to his inner idols. He needed the prophet Nathan to open his eyes. And when David finally saw what he had done, he was mortified. He detested himself and cried out to God for forgiveness. There, David found something astounding. David, a thief, adulterer, liar, and murderer, was shown love by God. God didn't hold his sin against him. Now, David did have to deal with the consequences of his sin, but somehow he was right with God. God forgave him. Now, from a human perspective, this seems foolish. David's a scoundrel. Where's the justice? God should have punished him endlessly for his sin. But God's foolishness is wiser than man's wisdom. When God forgave David, it changed his heart. The idols that infected David's heart couldn't stand up to the ultimate cure: perfect love. God could have just punished David, but that wouldn't really touch the idols in his heart. It would have only treated the symptom, not the cause. David's sacrifices to the idols in his heart needed an even greater sacrifice to overwhelm them. He found that in God's perfect love toward an imperfect creature. This sacrifice ultimately culminated in the arrival of Jesus, whose physical sacrifice paid the price for all sin of all time and opened up the offer of forgiveness for us all. We have the cure: perfect love. Now, if this perfect love can restore our relationship with God, just think how powerful it is to restore our relationships with each other. If you want to use the world's notion of justice to solve your problems, then you will simply be treating the symptom, not the cause. But if you really want the cure, then you will need to take the much harder path that leads to healing, the one that Jesus laid down for us. It means we identify our idols. It means we confess our sins to each other. It means we love each other as God has loved us. It means we forgive. It means we reconcile. God has given us the cure. Are we willing to use it?